Okay, so first up, we're obviously very, very excited. Book is redlined, needs autograph,
How sweet.
all of that.
Thank
We've
you.
crowdsourced questions from everywhere, especially the children, because
Nice.
they're the ones who want to know that what has changed Mama's thinking overnight about everything that we do. Okay, but everybody wants to know, Rujuta as a kid, were you always so good?
Well, I don't think I'm very good even right now. And I would like to say that I was probably a very difficult child for my mother to raise, not easy at all. So, well, I think it's thanks to my mother's endless patience and kindness and unconditional love, I guess, something which every mother has for her child, that I kind of got through. Otherwise, it can be tough raising children, as all mommies know.
So you were a naughty kid.
Well,
You're not fussy about food.
I wasn't fussy about food, but a child can throw fuss just about at just about anything, not just about food.
Okay. Okay. So everybody wants to know, was this your dream profession when you were growing up?
Pretty much, my dream profession was to not be in a 9 to 5 job. My dream profession was to be in something which would involve an activity which would allow me to travel, which would let me meet many people. Obviously, I didn't know exactly what I would do at that point of time, but by the time I was in my 12th standard, aerobics and the fitness scene had kind of picked up, and I felt that I have to be doing something in this career. But my family is very academic, so I was not sure what I would land up doing here. But by the time I graduated, thankfully SNDT had a course called Post Graduation in Sports Science and Nutrition, and I was like, tada, this is God sent for me.
Were you ever scared to fail when you started out? Because it was so big back
No.
then.
See, there was no such thing as failure at that time, because even one client meant success.
Correct.
Any kind of work that came your way meant success. Because failure just meant having nothing
And
to
this
do.
is how many years ago, Rujuta?
I started in 98,
So guys, it just doesn't happen
yeah,
overnight.
yeah.
Like it's more than 20 years.
More than 20
Wow.
years, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Did you ever feel like quitting when that first client didn't happen?
No,
What
never,
kept you
never,
going?
never. The fact that, if you have faith and if you're patient and if you find clients who are committed, then everything just comes through, and everything comes in its own good time. If I'm going to ask people to be patient with their own bodies and to look at it from a long-term approach, I cannot be looking at my career from a very short-term approach either. Even I need to be sustainable, and if I cannot be sustainable, then I should surely not be asking them to be very sustainable in their approach towards fitness.
You haven't emphasized too much on meat and the importance of meat for children. Why?
Because we do have a whole lot of purely vegetarian communities, and even in terms of statistics, India has amongst the lowest consumption of meat as compared to other countries.
Right.
While US is somewhere like 114 kgs,
Right.
and we are at like 4 kilograms a year, so we are not such a big meat consuming nation to
Right.
begin with. Secondly, and I have clarified about this even in my book, that if you do belong to a meat eating community, it is important that you eat it like your grandmom did, and she basically ate it with her rice or with her bhakri along with her vegetables, and sometimes in the week and not every single day of the week.
Right.
The problem with meat is if we look at it only from the point of view of protein, then we start eating it every day.
Exactly.
Or we have vegetarian societies thinking, now that this has protein, should I actually get my child to change the way
Right.
we've been eating
Right.
as a family. And then that leads to confusion, that also leads to unsustainable practices of growing meat.
Right.
And that's when it's dangerous, especially for people who are meat consumers,
Right.
because they should have the right to eating meat in a more sustainable manner.
Right.
And that can only happen if all of us maintain our diversity in our food culture.
Interesting. Most nutritionists and meal plans for kids include, sneaking in the veggies and, emphasis on vegetables. You haven't emphasized so much on it. You are like, It's okay.
It's okay to
Lunch
not
and
eat
dinner-
vegetables.
Lunch and dinner is done and it's okay. So
Correct.
why?
Because we have multiple sources of vitamins and minerals, and vegetables are not the only source of vegetables. If we are talking about future proofing our children's health, we have to teach them to eat in a way which is climate resilient, which is linked to the crop cycle, and which is also culturally resonant. So if you look at all the communities we have, I mean, green leafy vegetables, for example, in our crop cycle, we only get it in the winters. We
Right.
don't get it in the summers. We don't get it in the monsoon. In the monsoon, we have more pulses based diet. In summers, we have more creeper based diet, like the dudis and the toris, and in winters we have like the more green leafy based diet. So we have to teach them that, because that's what our parents taught us too. It's only now that you have all vegetables bara mahina in the market.
Correct.
And that's again thanks to unsustainable practices of agriculture. That's not because that's how they naturally grow. That's one aspect. The second thing is, linking them to the crop cycle would also mean getting them to eat more native food. So right now in fruits you have ber, you have avla, and how many kids and mommies and daddies who are watching this have actually had their children eat the ber and avla this season. So if we are fussing about the vitamins and minerals, we have to also work at diversifying the sources from which they get those vitamins and minerals, so that other than vitamins and minerals, they also get, develop their palate to these foods. They also work at maintaining the forest and the forest produce. They work at getting many more phytonutrients from these kind of native fruits. They also get fiber, and they learn to eat in a way which is in sync with nature.
Right. I think that whole bit on diversity is very important, because you're absolutely right. The same minerals can be found in multiple sources, and we're not exploring those.
We are not
those
exploring
sources.
those, and by saying veggies all the time, and by chopping them and putting it in various things, we are just teaching our children how to cheat. The last thing that a child wants to grow up feeling is being manipulated by the mother. Because the thing is that at some point the child grows up, and I work with a whole lot of people, and I'll tell you about this very interesting case about a 30-year-old girl that I'm working with. I mean, 30 is fairly grown up and adult, and she's like, as a child, she hated her vegetables. So her mother would chop them in various things and just like put it in different things. And the minute she would like eat a roti which had like little chopped carrots or onion or whatever, she would just throw up. Today, as a 30-year-old, she wants to include vegetables. But this whole memory of manipulation is not letting her eat the vegetable even now. So, these sneaky
Green rotis and
pink rotis and green rotis and the green pulaus and the yellow raitas shouldn't cost our children their emotional well-being in the future.
Okay. Another thing you mentioned is that kids should not be taken out too much on holidays and travels, and at mama's house or nani's house or whatever. But do you feel like when you're traveling less, and like I love to travel with my kids, I feel like if they don't explore different cultures, especially now when boundaries are just disappearing, they never get to taste, and then you'll always be carrying your food along with you wherever you travel.
No, see, the whole thing is that you carry a few snacky items, like maybe a chakli and nuts and yes. But for rest of the main meals, you have to dig into the local culture of wherever you are, whether you're in the Mediterranean. No, that is what I would recommend, because when you eat local food is when you understand local histories, when you understand local people, is when you understand local climate. Without that, there's no
you're taking
there's
the
no
fun
of travel.
Right? Okay, a lot of parents whose kids are playing competitive sports say have particularly asked this question, that they're moving towards a more protein and a heavy nutritional diet, and I know you've written about that in the book, but they're like, and I'm sorry, come back to she. I should not say that, because she's going to say both parents in the kitchen are going to get a mad. But I have to admit,
right, of course, it's mostly mommies.
We have to change the
narrative.
So how do What's the typical meal that they should look before and after a sport, before an important match, game? Especially some of them are playing international level sports.
I think banana is excellent, especially the ones who travel outside of the country for international sports. Something like a sukeri, which is like a dried banana which belongs to our region, is excellent because it can last you for 7 to 10 days, and it is a mineral rich resource, it's electrolyte rich resource. And a lot of times when athletes travel out, they may not exactly love the food that they're eating, so this is also an energy dense source that they could carry. That's something that you can eat both before and after game. And after a game, I always suggest that you eat something wholesome, even if it is dal chawal, or even like a well made sandwich, or even roti, jaggery and ghee is a good idea, but eat something the minute you're done with your game. Don't wait forever to start eating, finish, cool down, do your stretches, eat.
But they always feel that the international athletes are always eating a lot of, and that's how they say, right, that especially people from China, Hong Kong, other Asian economies, they're eating far more this less carb sort of diet, and they feel like that's the reason of their success, their bodies, their agility.
Well, that's not quite true, because Olympic associations across the globe are now ensuring that their menus are fairly vegetarian. It's not that they're going off meat, but it's not surely exclusively meat. That's one. Secondly, if you look at the Indian athletes, including Hima Das, who won us a gold medal, then there is Smriti Mandhana, who's such a big hitter of sixes and stuff. They are purely vegetarian, so you don't have to change your food culture to become an athlete who has made it, right? But in fact, you have to just be more away from all kinds of processed food, whether they are vegetarian in nature or they are not vegetarian in nature. The more you are away from processed food and the more you are connected to fresh food, the better your chances of performance are.
Right. You stress so much on ghee roti gur. Why?
Because it's like getting an immunity booster shot.
Yeah. For me, it's favorite food, like bachpan ka khana, which is
it's an easy meal. It's something that you can it's a quick go-to meal. You can carry it in your tiffin box. It's a no fuss meal. I'm yet to meet a kid who doesn't love this meal. So
okay. Right utensils to cook for kids.
Iron kadai, या फिर this पीतल का kadais, that is ideal. You could even use steel, but you should surely not be using Teflon and plastic and aluminium.
Right. You're also very anti-formula milk, which comes through the book.
I know, isn't that?
But a lot of moms who could not breastfeed for various reasons have been very vehement about it's all wrong and like what could we do? We've just not managed.
Correct. At that stage, when you figure that you're not lactating enough, I can understand that it's an easy alternative, and which is exactly why.
I believe that there is, and sorry I'm interrupting.
No,
but
please.
Do you feel like there is a concept of not lactating enough and lactating enough?
I
mean, I don't know.
It all depends on the fitness of the mother, the circumstances under which the child is born, and whether we've actually been patient enough to allow the child to latch on to the breast. Because for the first 2 or 3 days, you literally need to help the child latch on and suckle and not give up in those first 2 or 3 days. Along with that, you also need a family unit which is completely geared towards looking after the mother. Because if she's not going to get her rest, if she's not going to eat right, if she's not going to have her time to herself, especially in the first 40-50 days, she is just going to be exhausted with with the feeding and with everything. It can get quite overwhelming.
A lot of Indians who live abroad have asked this question. They find it very hard to cook every day and rely on frozen foods or food prepared over the weekend. How can we make it easier for our kids?
Well, I think instead of cooking 2 times a week, even if we cook up to 3 or 4 times a week, that is something which will help. And I say this even like at all my talks abroad, that what happens is that our men, especially ones, because they're living abroad, need to be that much more contributing in the kitchen. Right. Because here in India we still get help, but people abroad don't quite get that help, and then all that men limit themselves to mostly is grocery buying and taking out the garbage, but there is more that they can do. So they should start doing that more, so that it's not just up to the woman to cook. Right. Because how much are you also going to cook? Right. There is going to be a limitation to that.
Okay. Now the grandmom who's asked the question, she's asked, हमने हमारे बच्चों के लिए कुछ नहीं किया था और वो सब कुछ खाते हैं. ये बच्चों में प्रॉब्लम है या आजकल के पेरेंट्स?
आजकल के पेरेंट्स में प्रॉब्लम है कि हमने कुछ नहीं किया था, मतलब जो पकाया है वही खाने को बोला था. We didn't give them multiple options. और जब हम बच्चों को बहुत ज़्यादा multiple options देते हैं, it is like taking them to a multi-cuisine restaurant, which is like a poor grade multi-cuisine restaurant, कि ये भी बन सकता है, ये भी बन सकता है, ये भी बन सकता है. We have to teach our children to value the labor that goes into the kitchen to have every meal ready. And they are sensitive enough to respect that if we as a household begin to respect that, so we should learn from our grandmothers, surely.
Okay, last, all these are from the kids and you need to answer in a word.
Yeah.
Okay. Did Rujuta auntie always eat healthy?
Yes.
Okay. What was or is your favorite sport?
Cycling and skiing.
Okay. Favorite food that you always eat one more of?
Modak.
Okay. Which was your favorite subject in school?
History.
Okay. How do you get all the mamas to listen to you? I also want to learn.
I don't know. I try.
Okay. Everyone has a subject or a fruit that they hate. Which one is yours?
Bengan.
Okay, so she does have something that she hates. Okay. I hate fruits. Why should I eat them?
If you hate fruits, you don't need to eat them at all.
No, the mothers are going to hate you. Everything that
mothers are going to hate me. Food industry is going to hate me. Where they're like, oh no, listen, no formula. You're like, but see, the kids love me. I think that's more than enough, don't you think?
Yeah. I love candy, floss. Why can't I eat it?
Oh, candy and floss, why can't you eat it? Because the only reason why you like it is because it's being marketed and targeted towards you, and you are only liking it because your favorite cartoon character is eating it, and it's also on your toothpaste. And if we manage to remove, which is what as adults we need to do, if we regulate the way junk food gets marketed to children, most children will be off junk food, because if you taste it, it's terrible, you really don't feel like eating it.
Okay, I love ghee, and my mom says I will become like a football if I eat it.
Very good. Become the football.
Is the question.
No. Okay. But you will become as sporty as a footballer.
Okay. I always carry my water bottles to all birthday parties so I don't spoil Mother Earth.
How sweet.
How do I tell my friends to not use those small Bisleri bottles? Even my teachers use it in school.
Lead by example and tell them that, we don't have the ability to recycle plastic. So we must reduce the usage of these plastic bottles.
Okay. Okay. And the last one is, why do bad things taste so good if they are bad for you?
A lot of times bad things taste good only because they are marketed in a very good way. Okay. So same thing again, if we manage to remove the marketing, bad things will just taste as bad things. Like chocolates should never come with a toy, for example, but they do, which is the reason why we buy the chocolate. So you remove the toy and no one's interested in that chocolate anymore.
That's so true. Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank
I'm sure
you.
the bachas are going to be very happy with all their questions being answered.
Hi, I'm Rujuta Diwekar and you're watching me on kidsstoppress.com.